So if you watched the game against West Ham, surely it's apparent by now that Hojlund has to be moved on in the last month of this window. We can't just be selling players of better quality because they've had personality clashes with the board or the manager, and then keep players like Hojlund who clearly aren't good enough simply because he runs around a lot and he's a good lad. Last season he was a complete liability and one of the primary reasons for why United weren't able to create high value chances consistently, and we saw that continue against West Ham. So in this example, Hojlund is making the right run and timing it well in behind the centre backs, looking for Euro to play a through ball, splitting the centre back and left back and releasing him in behind. However, Hojlund's game is far too dependent on simply being released in behind the back line into space in order to have any sort of influence on the play, and he often just ends up out wide under pressure with his back to the defender, eventually being forced to play a pass backwards to retain possession anyway. And so it's not the same sort of threat that you get with a Jamie Vardy when he makes a similar run. And even still, United can't constantly be trying to release him in behind every single time, because this just leads to high turnovers and would also make United far too reliant on Hojlund's ability to get into and then score from these sorts of through balls. But we begin to see one of the major issues in his game as the play develops. But before I get into that, if you want to check out any cheap, good quality football jerseys, go over to jerseyfever.co. They've got a variety of different current season and retro jerseys, including the new Manchester United releases for the upcoming season. They sent me over the 25-26 home shirt with Bruno Fernandes on the back, as well as this Ronaldo 7 white Manchester United away shirt from the 06-07 season, alongside this Zidane Juventus shirt from the 90s as well. If you use code Atlantis at checkout, you'll get a 10% discount, so I'll leave a link in the description and in the comments section below. So instead of looking to release Hojlund in behind, Euro instead goes back in field with a square pass into Mainu in the centre, and despite him having to check back slightly in order to receive the ball on his left foot, his second touch with his right foot then allows him to drive forward, and initially it seems like he's going to play the pass into Agate, but he has the awareness to recognise that Agate would be under immediate pressure from the player behind him, and so instead Mainu uses one of his trademark drops of a shoulder, feinting one way and going the other in order to lose the pressure on his back, and now you can see that Mainu is looking for that forward pass to split the West Ham midfield line. Now from here, if Hojlund simply baits like he's going to make the run in behind and then checks back to create some space between himself and the centre back, he can open up this passing lane for Mainu and then be able to bounce the ball into Bruno Fernandes or Cunha either side. However, for some reason Hojlund is sitting almost behind the West Ham centre back, essentially just marking himself out of the game, and providing Mainu with no forward passing option, resulting in Mainu having to abandon the idea for a pass into Hojlund's feet, dribble forward, which just leads to him getting crowded out and the attack breaking down. But even after Agate is able to win the loose ball and then bypass a West Ham midfielder in front, Hojlund's speed of thought and reaction seems to be a second or two behind everyone else, as even after Agate nutmegs Ward-Prowse, Hojlund still isn't able to think quickly enough and actually takes a step towards Agate, not only crowding Agate out by keeping the defensive line high, but he himself with his presence is crowding out Agate as well, as he's basically right on top of him here. Souček is as slow as a bus over shorter distances, but Agate does well to bypass both him and Hojlund, before then finding Ahmad's diagonal run with a good through ball, which Ahmad is able to finish from across the keeper into the bottom corner. But if we go back slightly to when Ahmad is actually receiving the ball here, Hojlund should be positioned on the shoulder of the last defender, either between the right back and centre back or between the two centre backs, ready to then break goal side and receive a square pass from Ahmad and a tap in into an empty net, or even pick up a rebound from the shot. However, despite actually being positioned on the shoulder of the last defender when Mainu initially had the ball and was looking for the pass, he's actually managed to position himself in front of the two centre backs a few yards from being goal side. And I think this next example highlights why I think Cunha would be a far better centre forward option for the system than Hojlund. Bruno Fernandes receives the ball in front of the West Ham midfield line, and as he plays the pass into Mainu, the West Ham midfielder steps up to apply pressure. Cunha has the awareness to realise that a passing lane into his feet isn't open, and so unlike Hojlund, he simply just adjusts his positioning with a few quick steps to his right, meaning that when Mainu completes a 1-2 with Bruno, now the passing lane into Cunha is open. Cunha receives the ball to feet, but he has the awareness to recognise that the West Ham defender is racing out towards him, and so he uses his technical ability and speed of thought and movement to pop the ball to his right before turning instantly to receive the 1-2, and now with just a touch and a pass and a quick turn, Cunha now has the ball goal side of the West Ham midfield with one of the defenders completely taken out of the game. But now as Cunha is carrying the ball forward, Hojlund once again is standing completely statically alongside the centre-backs, not even having the right body positioning to receive the ball to feet and hold off a challenge from the defender. He should be doing exactly what Cunha did earlier, which is quickly assessing the position of the opposition players and his teammates around him before using a quick few steps and an adjustment of his body positioning to open up the passing lane for Cunha to play this short pass into his feet, wherefrom he should be either bouncing the ball back first time into Manu, or taking a touch and looking to find Dorgu on the left side, or even given that he would have dragged the centre back out of the back line, if Cunha had continued his forward movement, Hojlund could then bounce the ball back into Cunha or release him between the centre back and Wan-Bissaka. But instead, Hojlund seems to almost not want to receive the ball at all, with his physical position on the pitch and his body positioning meaning that even if Cunha did try to play the pass directly to where Hojlund is now, the West Ham centre-back can simply take one step, and because of Hojlund's body positioning, he would have easily been able to make the interception. And so Cunha plays the pass to where Hojlund should be, Hojlund isn't there, and once again this is another example of an attack breaking down simply because Hojlund can't do the basics that are required of a centre-forward, not just in Ruben Amorim's system, but in general in any system. Hojlund's technical ability is poor, he probably knows that, his confidence is low, but you can't just be avoiding receiving the ball to feet in these sort of areas, and even when he does have the opportunity to make a run in behind, his speed of thought and movement means that he doesn't even provide that at the right time. Take this example for instance, Manu receives a square pass from Dorgu, and as usual he shows his game intelligence to recognise that the pressure is coming from behind, and so he alters his body positioning not only so he can receive the ball on his back foot, but also so that he's able to get his body between the pressing player and the ball, then using his left arm in order to keep the player at a maximum distance from the ball. But this is where Manu is at his best, receiving the ball in tight, congested areas, using his body positioning and drops of a shoulder to turn away from pressure, and even here when there's a player tight on his back and another in close proximity in front, he's able to use his quick footwork in order to bypass that player, he falls down but still gets back up, and is now driving the ball into the West Ham half. However, inevitably ahead of Manu, Hojlund once again is not only slow to react to Manu beating the midfield line, but his body positioning to receive the ball is completely wrong again. His stance should be more open, allowing Manu to quickly poke a short pass into his feet, so that first time or even with a touch he can bounce the ball backwards to Bruno Fernandes in the centre, wherefrom because Emerson the left back is going to have to move forward to engage Bruno, this opens up the opportunity for Bruno to release Ahmad, who's making a driving run forward down the right side, in behind Ederson, into what would have likely been a 1v1 situation. So despite his lack of reactions in the first place, Hojlund could have still bailed himself out simply by getting his body positioning correct. I really don't know what Hojlund is doing, because it's obvious that he doesn't feel confident enough to receive the ball to feet, but even now, in the time that it's taken Manu to receive the ball, beat two players, fall on the ground, get back up, and then carry the ball a good 10 yards, Hojlund has barely moved. He's still positioned in no man's land in front of the centre-back, where he's not just useless for Manu, but he's actively crowding him out. Hojlund should be positioned 2 or 3 yards higher and to the right, making a curved run in behind so that Manu can split Wan-Bissaka and the centre-back on his inside to release Hojlund in behind. Manu is clearly waiting for Hojlund's run, trying to take as many touches as possible, waiting for him to get into position, and to be fair, Hojlund does eventually start to get into position to make the run, but only after Manu's been forced to already play the rushed pass, having been completely crowded out. Hojlund neither opened a passing lane to link the attack, or looked to create space by dragging the backline deep with a run in behind. He essentially did exactly what you'd want a striker to do if you were one of the opposition centre-backs. He can't link play efficiently with his back to goal, he can't receive direct long passes from deep and hold off a defender to then link play with the runners behind, and even though he seems insistent on constantly making runs in behind to receive the ball, when United actually need him to make those runs, he only realises that he should be making the movement about 4 or 5 seconds after he should have made it, and the pass has already been played. I mean, even in this example, he manages to turn a great pass from Bruno Fernandes into one that looks like it's been overhit simply because he can't run in a straight line. I mean, he's really only somewhat effective after a turnover on the counter when the opposition's defensive line is high with massive amounts of space in behind and he's up against a slow centre-back. I mean, other than that, I really don't see what else he offers to the side at all. People say that Garnacho has low football IQ, but his is far higher than Hojlund's. Garnacho lacks decisiveness and composure when he actually has the ball at his feet. But off the ball, his anticipation and movement to actually get into goal-scoring positions is excellent, levels above Hojlund's, which can be seen by the disparity in their non-penalty XG rates last season. Hojlund hasn't been getting enough service. Yes, because he's actively stifling the service himself. I mean, his movement and overall game intelligence was not this bad in his first season or when he was at Atalanta, so I don't understand how he's declined this much. I genuinely don't think he starts for any other Premier League side, because a side fighting relegation aren't going to be able to function with a striker who can't link play or even make basic runs to open up space for others or to receive a through ball in time. Is Hojlund the sole reason for the problems that United have been facing, not just in pre-season and over the second half of last season as well? No, he's not. There are definitely some other tactical issues, particularly in the build-up phase and definitely when pressing. But the majority of United's problems in possession are stemming from Hojlund's poor movement and inability to link play efficiently. So let me know if you think Hojlund's on the Epstein list. I definitely think he is, and I think the club should get rid of him immediately. And if you want to check out any cheap, good quality football jerseys, go over to jerseyfifa.co. You can use code ATLANTIS at checkout for a 10% discount. I'll leave a link in the description and in the comment section below. And if you do want to check out any plot graphs or any of my articles, you can sign up for my Patreon and get a 7-day free trial. So I'll leave that linked on the end screen now as well.